says it's
It
live.
says it's setting up, and then while
Yeah.
it's setting
I know
up,
it always takes a second. Yeah.
and then sometimes it's already streaming. So, dun 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 dun. All right, we are live. Where's my page? There we go. I was like, where's my faces? Hello, happy Tuesday, everybody. It is a beautiful day here in the Midwest, a little chilly, but the sun is shining, and I'm actually watching the sunset go down as I speak. So, welcome everybody. This is Conversations to Raise the Collective Conscious. I am your host, Renee Zukin. We are live in Midwest Elevation, a space devoted to all things healing and elevating, all the different modalities that we can use to do the inner work, to see the outer change. I'm very excited to be talking to my guest today. Let me introduce her. Let me share my screen and introduce her to you. Buttons? Where did my buttons go? You know, you think I do this all day long with my students at school, and then, you know, it's all good. Every time. Good. There we go. Sharing my screen. Okay, look at you. I love this beautiful picture. Love it, love it. So today's guest is Sarah Van Sciver. She is here today to talk to us about feminine empowerment through creativity, which I am so excited to get into. She is a field practitioner, intentional creativity coach in training, although lots of wise wisdom and experience through the years, of course. Sarah creates a space of possibility for women to become empowered and connected to their creativity and unique medicine so they can contribute to the healing of the planet while also being compensated for their sacred gifts. Beautiful. Sarah weaves several modalities together to create a unique process for healing. For over 20 years, she has studied several types of healing, including expressive arts therapy, 5-element acupuncture, and equine facilitated learning. She worked with horses. So incredible. Through this process, Sarah has healed herself from childhood and adult trauma, depression, and anxiety. And today she leads women in her Soul Purpose Facebook group, holds healing art workshops, I said heart, but it's kind of one in
it's
this.
It's also heart.
And works with women in her 6-month program, Ancient Feminine Wisdom Circle, which I'm so excited to learn more about. Welcome, Sarah. I am so glad you are here.
Thank you so much, Renee, for that wonderful introduction. I'm so honored to be here and to dive into this awesome subject of empowering women through their creativity. It's one of my passions.
That's awesome. And I can see, is that some of your own artwork behind you there?
Yes, it's actually a work in progress. It's actually not done, the big one. And then the other one is another one that I did recently. So yeah.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Well, and I had the pleasure and the joy to sit in on one of your workshops this weekend. You did a mandala workshop, and it was very, you know, we didn't have to, I am no artist by any means. So I want to put that, you know, caveat out there.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a budding artist to get some real healing through your creativity. And so I was so pleased. So I don't know if that's maybe where you want to start. You know, what is it about art and the creativity?
Yeah. And I love that you said that, sorry, I think that's my Facebook. Let me just turn that off. I think you mentioned, you know, that you don't consider yourself an artist, but that you got so much out of it. And that's something that I really stand for, is that we're all creative. And, you know, when we're young, we're given crayons and paper and we know what to do with them. You know, we don't sit there thinking, oh, well, I don't think I can do this, or, you know, you just see kids and they just go for it. Right. But as we get older, you know, our culture tends to think that it's not necessary, or certain people belong in that category of being artistic and other people aren't. And, you know, being creative means you're an artist. And all these belief patterns that I kind of want to abolish, because, my mission is to really empower women to know that their creativity is one of their greatest strengths and sources of inspiration, and tapping into their intuition and getting guidance in terms of everything in their life. So I feel like creativity is something that we all need to embody and that we all have. It's just a matter of really tapping into it. So I love that you came, even though you consider yourself an artist, and I loved the mandala that you made and everything. So I wouldn't have even known that you had thought that. So
well, and what you say is really interesting, because it's true. We start off, little people. Everything we do is kind of bursts of creativity, and like you said, nobody gives you a box of crayons and you're like, oh, I don't think I could do this when you're 3 years old. But that voice, that I don't think I can do this, or it's not going to be perfect, or I don't know how to execute, this vision that I have in my brain, and it doesn't look this, right. It grows and grows and grows. So how, how do you combat that?
Yes. So yeah, exactly. And that's something that I didn't talk very much about this. Well, I guess I touched on it a little bit about our inner critic and how we also have a muse. We all have those voices within ourselves that say all the things you just said, like, who do you think you are? You're not going to be able to do this. You're not artistic. You're not talented. Blah blah blah. We can just make a big long list.
Yes.
I think we all carry similar stories. They might deviate a little bit, but we can all relate to the beliefs that hold us back, and whether it's conscious or unconscious, it keeps us from really fully living our authentic life, because it's not the authentic voice. It's the somebody told me it's the itty bitty shitty committee.
I love it.
I love that too. I actually learned that through my field training, because we talk a lot about, when I was working with horses, that's something that we really focused on as well, as the inner critic versus the more authentic part of ourselves. And the authentic part of ourselves is the more wise part, the one that is encouraging, the one that tells us you can do it, and it's okay if you make a mistake, and or something doesn't go right. It's the one that supports us and encourages us. So it's a matter of not trying to make our inner critic go away. It's about acknowledging those voices, those beliefs, and then saying, okay, you're there, and I'm choosing to believe something different. I'm choosing to listen to something different, which is my authentic self. And the muse is kind of like another, I don't know, archetype that you might say of, the more creative part of ourselves that is more free flowing. And like, I just really want to reiterate that we all have that. So we all have different parts of ourselves. We have our inner child, we have, different archetypes, we all do, but it's just sorting that out and becoming friends almost with our inner critic, and then welcoming in another part of ourselves that might give us more wisdom. So the art, it's interesting because the art brings up both. Like the art, when you sit down to do something artistic, being artistic or drawing is one of the most vulnerable things that you can do. Brene Brown says that creating is one of the most vulnerable things you can do, because it's putting yourself out there, taking something that's inside your heart and putting it on paper. And all those inner critics voices that come up that we were told when we were younger, like yours isn't as good as other people, or you don't belong with the artist, or whatever that is. We have those voices, but I lost my train of thought a little bit. But so it's just acknowledging that within ourselves, and then I've lost my train of thought. I don't know what I was saying.
That's okay. Well, and I do want to, probably because I kept wanting to interject.
Maybe that's why.
Because I absolutely love what you said about the inner critic. Like, we're not trying to abolish it completely. It's gonna, we have to find a way to kind of coexist.
Yes.
With our inner critic. And you said, you used the word make friends with our inner critic, which I love, right? Yeah. Because you know, it is a part of us, you know, regardless of where it came from or why it exists, you know, there's
Yes.
probably, there's some value there.
Yeah.
And but that it doesn't have to be what kind of runs the show.
Exactly. Yeah. Elizabeth Gilbert, in her book, The Big Magic, she talks about putting her critic in the back seat when she's driving. And she says, you know, you can't touch the radio dial. You can't choose where we're going. You can't make comments.
Right.
You know,
I've read that. That's
just be in the back seat, you know?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I love that. And one thing I did years ago was I named my inner critic, and her name's Sassy Pants.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
And it's interesting because she's kind of transformed over the years from being really mean and really critical to being still a little bit uptight, but much more relaxed and more discerning. It's more like she's kind of like turned into a more healthy inner critic, where it's more discerning, like, is this good for me? Is this right for me? And, you know, I think that's kind of what can happen when we embrace it and kind of let it be there, but, you know, have some boundaries around the, you know, how much it's going to control us. But then as you become friends with it, it's like, actually, it's a protective device. You know, we all have it. It's, you know, and for whatever reason, it's protecting us from something. And maybe as adults, we don't need it as much. But as we work through and heal things from the past, then it can be a very protective, discerning entity as well. So
yeah, I love it. And I love that term discernment, you know, really, because it's a guide, you know, really helping sort of piece apart the things that, you know, are good for us. So, and we do have a few people watching. I love it. There, yes, Misha loves that the itty bitty shitty committee. It is the best. It's absolutely the best. And yes, creating is a maximum vulnerability. Oh my goodness. It is, whether you know, we're talking about drawing or we're talking about writing. We have a couple of writers here. Or performing, you know, singing a song. It is, because it really is, you know, it opens up that, you know, that part of our hearts. And it's almost like, I don't know that I want. And then you know, the feedback, it's, you know, we're so worried about what kind of feedback we might get.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Yeah, I think, I mean, I've talked to a couple people lately about like how, you know, doing some sort of job that doesn't involve our heart so much is, you know, it's less vulnerable. It's kind of easier to go to the job and do it. But when it comes to tapping into like what our heart wants to do, what our soul is calling us to do, those are like innermost gifts. And, you know, it really brings up deeper fears, like what you say around judgment, criticism, what are people going to think? And honestly, it goes way back to generations of when women were burned at the stake. And I really believe that we're influenced that in a way that we don't realize, because I don't feel like we ever really healed from that. And it's kind of been pushed underground, and we don't acknowledge the fact that, I mean, I think we do to some degree, but, you know, the degradation of women in general. And then, you know, anything that was considered like even making money was, you know, you were taken to the stake for that, or, you know, just having herbs in your closet, you know. And then, you know, being a creative artist, like, you know, they were seen as crazy. You know, it's like we have all these really unconscious, subconscious beliefs around creativity and artists, and, you know, the starving artists, and, you know, they're depressed, or it's like all of these things that are kind of undertone, you know, all of those things. So I don't want to be negative about it, but like,
but it's true. I mean, and that's, you know, and we talk about, you know, collective conscious, and that's all part of it. You know, maybe my own personal ancestors weren't burned at the stake. You know, I have other ancestral trauma, you know, as we all do, but it becomes part of, you know, history becomes part of what we know and understand. and affects us, whether it was, our life or
Exactly.
or elsewhere.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's true. Do you find, especially women entrepreneurs or people, there are a lot of us, a lot of people, men and women, and everybody, people,
Yes.
um, struggle with that balance between, the job that maybe their heart really isn't in and a
Right.
higher calling, and, how to make that sort of purposeful life also financially fulfilling, of course.
Exactly. Yes.
Um, and I love that you mentioned, in some ways it's just so much easier to just do the job because you don't have to put yourself out there.
Right. Right. And I don't want to say that that's not okay. It's like, I feel like we can have jobs that it's easy. And I don't want to say that there's anything wrong with that at all. But I do also feel like that a lot of us do have a deeper calling that if we don't answer it, then it starts to even make us ill at sometimes. Like um, I was feeling really drained in the other work I was doing. And I got to the point where I just really couldn't do it anymore because it was just physically affecting me. So yeah, it's a dance, I think, for sure. And being an entrepreneur, I would say, is also very vulnerable and also very much like a spiritual path and takes a lot of dedication as well. So um, yeah, but like I again to return to the creativity, when we can really access our creativity and embody that within ourselves and bring it more into the work we're doing, regardless of what we're doing.
Mhm.
Um, it makes things easier, like because it gives us a broader vision. It helps us to tap into our intuition. It helps us to move. It helps us to heal. Really, all those critical voices. Like if you can just get through, the voices and just start putting the paint on the paper or whatever it is. If you just start somewhere, then that can be such a healing process to work through. So like just want to return to the fact that I really believe that the art can really heal and help us to move through those things, regardless of if you think you're an artist or not.
Right, right. Absolutely. Well, and what I really loved about your workshop on Saturday, you gave us some images and some background about mandalas. So there was some really great information. And then before, we kind of got into the drawing, we did a little, grounding meditation, a little, just a pause and the mindfulness piece to it. Kind of slowed and quieted that inner critic, which I thought was beautiful.
Yeah,
And
right.
even the act itself, afterwards I said, just, and everybody who was on the call, it was such a lovely group of people. And everyone, talked about how peaceful they felt afterwards.
Yes. Yes.
Um, and even, those those coloring books now are a big thing, right? The therapeutic,
Yeah.
and it just, there is something to it that, um, putting, the pen to paper or the pencils or the colors, whatever it
Yes.
was just so soothing.
Yes, exactly. And I think it's activating a lot of different parts of ourselves. Like it's activating our body, because we're using our body, and then we're connected to our heart because we're tapping into what our heart wants to create. And then there's like the field around us that we're tapping into. We're using our intention to connect with what we want to create. So there's a lot of moving parts, and it sounds like so simple, to just draw. Um, but it really there's I think there's a lot we haven't discovered about it energetically. But I think if you just do it, you can feel it.
Mhm.
And yeah, like you said. So
For sure. Yeah, and it is so simple, but all the complex pieces underneath that are really working to guide and heal. I just
right,
love it. I just love
right.
it. Um, Let me ask you about uh, your new program, because you have so ancient Feminine Wisdom Circle.
Right.
And for me, I'm so curious about the ancient part, right? So, and the feminine wisdom. So I don't know if you want to tell me a little bit about how you came to that title and what that sort of ancient wisdom really means for you and the work that you're doing.
Yeah, I changed the title of my program a couple times as I was kind of honing in on what exactly it was going to be. And I have to say that even creating the program has been a creative process for me. Like it's just kind of uncovered itself as I've, gone through different phases and stages of just discovering what I want to do and what women are asking also from me. So it's interesting that the title came, I don't know, maybe it was 6 weeks ago. Even it was not that long ago. I mean, I was working on the program and it was a different name, but I think what happened was I started tapping into how we as women are ancient wisdom keepers. Like I feel like we all have wisdom within us, and I feel like, especially in 2020, I feel like so many of us are waking up to the wisdom that we have, and I feel as though this new paradigm is happening where the feminine is awakening more and more in each of us and in our culture, and it's rocking the boat. But it's calling back to it really, like for me, when I tapped into it, it's calling back to a very ancient time when we were more in balance with nature, when the world was more in harmony, when, we didn't have so many, inequity in our world, when I think you get what I'm trying to say is, and women were not so in the minority, like we were actually seen as leaders, and we were the leaders actually in matriarchal societies. And so, I mean, our society has just shifted in so many ways, and for whatever reason. And I guess my vision of this program is, well, it's specifically for women who really want to hone in on their gifts and discover what they want to bring, and then also discover how they can make money doing so. So, creating the work that you want, creating a business, or working in a business that you already have, but it's from the perspective of the feminine. So it's working more from flow, it's working more from your intuition, it's tapping into your creativity. It's, it's having structure. Like I don't want to put down the masculine. Masculine is very important, but what happens a lot of times in business is it's more masculine and the feminine is kind of left behind. So I'm wanting to really balance those out and really start with flow first, start with our inspiration, start with our, intuition, and then implement the plans from there. I'm not anti-spreadsheet, but it's like, it's about getting that inspiration first and getting the inner guidance. And that's, tapping into feminine is all about that. So the more embodied you can be in your body, the more access you can have to your wisdom. So it's just bringing that aspect to business. And I feel like that's really needed right now, because I feel like I said, our world is just shifting in so many different ways. And, having that balance is so important right now in business and in all areas of life. So
absolutely. Well, and what a beautiful gift you bring to the women that you work with, to really, give them a space where they can tap into their creativity, tap into their intuition, and provide a space to really listen, because we don't do that for ourselves very often.
Right.
So, it's certainly, I was just having a conversation with my eldest daughter about that, how we have, these desires and these goals, and it's so hard to make the time for ourselves to do what we want to do, because, we're the helpers, and we want, everybody else to be, to be happy and fulfilled. And, not that we don't want that for ourselves, but it seems a lot harder to do for ourselves.
Yeah. I agree. And I think that's also the shift that's happening too, is to really acknowledge that we can give from our hearts and also receive so much. And that's the balance also that I want to stand for in the program, because I feel like we do have so many gifts to give, and in the giving, it gives to us. Like it's when we have something amazing to give, that is a gift for us, and it's a gift for the people that receive it. So but it's not about over giving. It's not about giving from stress or overwhelm. It's about really allowing that whatever that is, whatever you want to create to come forth in a balanced manner and giving it, but then also being reciprocated for it. So it, like for me, like doing the work I'm doing fills me up. So I feel like if you can be in alignment with what's really true for you, then giving from that place is actually regenerative. It's not depleting. And I think that's what I was feeling in my other business that I had for a long time, is it was depleting me because it was no longer in alignment with my heart. And it was at one point, but it changed. So I think we're ever evolving beings, and it's a matter of just showing up each day and just asking, what is mine to do today? How can I take care of myself? What is it that I need to give, and how do I need to receive too? So it's definitely that balance.
Right. Oh, I love that. That's so beautiful. And it's true, it harder for us to receive, but absolutely, if we can get to that point where we stand in what we are truly believing in and what really gives us joy, then it'll just emanate, right?
Yeah. I
And don't we all want that?
Definitely.
Right?
Definitely.
The
Yeah.
world as a whole would be a much brighter place, not without its challenges, but our challenges, can be met
Yes.
from a different space, which is wonderful.
Yes, I totally agree.
Yeah. So before we go here, I just want to say thank you to all our listeners and watchers out there who've commented. And if you're watching the replay, let us know what is resonating for you, what feels true about our discussion today. And then, Sarah, I know I'll put some links in the comments, but if folks want to reach out to you and learn more about your program, where can they do that?
So my business page is The Untethered Mare on Facebook, I believe. I think it's Untethered Mare or The Untethered Mare. And my website is the same, untetheredmare.com.
Great.
I'm on Instagram, but not very much anymore. The Untethered Mare. And my program description is on my website as well. And I also have a free class coming up this Saturday called Draw Your Creative Sacred Business Plan.
Oh my gosh.
So if you're in business or want to start a new business, and you want to come at it from a slightly different angle and use, your right brain to create a business plan in a new way, then I would love to have anyone that's watching to come. And that event is on my business page. It's in Eventbrite. I think you probably search for it, Draw Your Creative Sacred Business Plan, but you can find it on my Facebook page. Business page, Untethered Mare, as an event.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. And I'll put all those links down in the comments for everybody to grab. But that is so amazing. And that's free, this workshop on Saturday? Oh, what a gift. What a beautiful gift you are. Well, thank you so much. Any final thoughts or words to our listeners, our watchers today?
I think I would just have to end on, that again, just saying that I just really believe we each have something important to give to this world. And I think my biggest stand is that we're here to, many of us are here to contribute to the healing of the planet in whatever way that looks. So, and it can be so different from each one of us, but I feel like we're each have that vital piece of the puzzle, and not to discount that, and not to compare yourself to other people, because that's the biggest trap, I think, is comparing yourself to somebody else, what they're doing and what you think you should be doing. But just really coming back again and again to what feels true for you, what's calling you forward, and what's your next step. What's the next thing you can do?
Yes.
And just take it one step at a time.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much, Sarah. This has been an absolute joy. Again, thank you everybody for watching. I will put all that info down in the comments below. Have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday.
Thank you so much for having me, Renee. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.